In the outer reaches of the Perseus Arm, where starlight thinned and civilizations grew quiet, the galaxy had long agreed on one truth. War was a science. Predictable, calculated, elegant. Battles were decided before the first shot was ever fired, through formations, probability models, and centuries of perfected doctrine. And no one embodied that perfection more than the Virellian Armada. Their fleets moved like living equations, flawless, symmetrical, absolute. So when the Virellians received reports of a rising species from a blue world called Earth, they did not prepare for war. They prepared for correction. High Admiral Kareth stood at the center of his command chamber, gazing at the holographic projection of the human fleet. It flickered, uneven. Ships scattered in irregular clusters. No symmetry, no alignment. It looked chaotic. "Is this their full force?" Kareth asked, his voice calm, almost bored. A subordinate responded, "Hanmei." "Yes, High Admiral. These are their primary defense units." There was a pause. Then, a quiet ripple of amusement spread across the bridge. Kareth tilted his head slightly. "They do not even understand formation geometry." Another officer added, "Their ships vary in shape, speed, and spacing. There is no unified pattern." "No discipline," Kareth concluded. He turned away from the display. "Then this will be brief." Rising conflict. The perfect machine meets chaos. The Virellian Armada advanced in perfect synchronization. Thousands of ships moved as one, layered in concentric rings, each unit positioned with mathematical precision. Energy shields overlapped seamlessly. Weapon arrays aligned to maximize firing arcs. It was not just a fleet. It was a machine. And machines did not lose. Across the void, the human fleet waited. Or at least, it appeared to. Because from the Virellian perspective, nothing about the humans made sense. Ships drifted out of line. Some accelerated unexpectedly, others slowed or turned slightly off-axis. Their communications were noisy, unfiltered, alive. Inside the human command carrier, Resolute Dawn, Captain Elena Reyes leaned over the tactical display. Her crew moved quickly but not rigidly. Voices overlapped. Ideas collided. "All right," she said, calm but firm. "They're coming in textbook formation." A young officer smirked. "Of course they are." Reyes nodded. "Good. That means they'll expect us to follow the rules." Another voice chimed in. "And we're not doing that?" She looked up. A faint smile crossed her face. "We've never done that." Back on the Virellian flagship, Kareth gave the command, "Engage." The first volley was devastating. Precise beams of energy lanced across space, striking human ships with surgical accuracy. Explosions bloomed, several vessels were destroyed instantly. Kareth observed without emotion. "As expected," he said. "Their lack of formation leaves them exposed." But then, something strange happened. Instead of tightening their lines, the human fleet broke apart even further. Ships scattered in every direction. Some dove straight toward the Virellian formation, others veered wildly off course. It looked like panic. It looked like collapse. The Virellian officers exchanged glances. "High Admiral, they are disorganizing." Kareth frowned slightly. "No. They are failing to maintain cohesion." "Shall we pursue and eliminate in segments?" "Yes," Kareth replied. "Divide and purge." And that was the moment everything began to unravel. Human response. The unpredictable mind Captain Reyes watched the Virellian fleet split into smaller hunting groups, exactly as expected. Hook, line, and sinker, she muttered. She turned to her crew. Phase 2, let's make them chase ghosts. Human ships began transmitting false signatures, decoy signals, phantom fleets. To the Virellians, it appeared as if the human force had multiplied, fractured into dozens of smaller groups, each one broadcasting conflicting data, each one moving unpredictably. Kareth's display flickered, targets multiplied, vectors overlapped. For the first time, there was uncertainty. Clarify target priority, he ordered. But the answer did not come quickly, because there was no clear answer. Meanwhile, small human squadrons darted through the gaps in the Virellian formation, not in straight lines, not in predictable arcs. They moved like instinct, like improvisation. Inside one fighter, a pilot named Marcus Hale grinned as alarms blared around him. Come on, keep up, he muttered. A Virellian interceptor locked onto him. Perfect aim, perfect pursuit. Marcus rolled his ship sideways, cut thrust, and let inertia spin him off axis. The enemy overshot. Just slightly. Just enough. He fired. Direct hit. Scratch one, he said, breathing hard. Back on the Virellian flagship, Kareth's calm began to fracture. This is inefficient, he said. They are not engaging according to tactical logic. Another officer added, they are sacrificing positional advantage for unpredictable maneuvers. Kareth's eyes narrowed. Why? No one had an answer. Because the Virellians had never studied something like this before. They had studied war, they had mastered order, but they had never faced chaos wielded with intent. Climax. When perfection breaks. The battlefield was no longer symmetrical, no longer predictable. The Virellian formations, once flawless, had stretched, bent, fractured. In their attempt to chase the humans, they had lost cohesion. Captain Reyes saw it instantly. There, she said, pointing to the display. Their center is thinning. Her crew leaned in. They are overextended, someone said. Exactly, Reyes replied. Now we hit them where they think we can. She opened a fleet-wide channel, her voice carried across every human ship. Listen up, they think we're scattered. A pause. A breath. Let's show them what that really means. And suddenly, the chaos aligned. Human ships that had been drifting apart turned, accelerated, converged, not into perfect lines, not into rigid formations, but into something far more dangerous, a living, shifting network, each ship moving independently, yet somehow together. They struck the Virellian center from all directions, angles the enemy had not calculated, vectors their models had not predicted. Kareth watched in disbelief. How are they coordinating? No unified command pattern detected? No consistent formation structure? Then how are they... He stopped, because he finally understood. They are adapting, not following a plan, becoming one. The Virellian core collapsed under the sudden assault. Ships collided, shields failed, targeting systems lagged behind the unpredictable movements. For the first time in recorded history, the Virellian Armada broke formation. Resolution? The lesson. Written in stars. The battle did not end in annihilation, it ended in silence. The remaining Virellian ships retreated, not out of fear, but out of something far more unfamiliar. Respect. High Admiral Kareth stood alone, staring at the remnants of the battlefield. The human fleet still moved, still shifting, still alive. They should not have won, one officer whispered. Kareth shook his head slowly. No, they should not have fought like that. He turned away from the shattered display. For centuries we believed perfection was strength. A pause. But perfection cannot change. He looked back at the stars, and they are never the same twice. Across the void, Captain Reyes exhaled quietly. No celebration, no triumph, just relief. Status? She asked. Fleet intact, heavy losses be. But we held, she nodded. Good. Then she looked out at the stars. They'll be back. A crewmate asked softly. And next time? Reyes smiled faintly. Next time, we'll surprise them again. Because that was the truth the galaxy had never understood. Humans did not win because they were stronger, or faster, or more advanced. They won because they refused to be predictable, because they turned chaos into strategy, because they fought not like machines, but like minds that refused to be solved. And in the quiet aftermath of that battle, as the Virellian Armada retreated into the dark, a new understanding began to spread across the stars. Not all power comes from perfection. Some of it comes from the courage to be unpredictable. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. Otro. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars.